6:30, I'm gonna call this meeting of the Joshua City Council to order. We do have a quorum present. It's not, tonight we've got a special group with us. The Joshua Troop 340 Girl Scouts are gonna lead us in our pledges. These young ladies are working on their democracy badges. So we are very honored to have them here to lead us in the pledges. After the pledges, if everybody would please wait a couple minutes. They want to get a couple of pictures before they head out. And then we'll go into our invocation right after that, which will be by Kim Kimball, founder of Hope Encounter Ministries. So if the young ladies would like to come up, we'll get started with our pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, ladies. Good job. Thank you.
Rachel, with another holiday season and Thanksgiving is a week away, I would like to read a poem before I pray. When people is all I'm talking about, if someone gave to us, give because nobody gave to us. We give because giving has changed us. We give because giving has changed us. We have been better for it. We have been less inspired. Giving has many faces. It's loud and quiet, big though small, diamond wood nails. Its story is old, the plot worn, and the pages too. But we read this book anyway, over and again. Giving is first and every time, hand to hand, mine to yours, yours to mine. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for our city. Thank you for our leaders. The churches. Pray for the leaders that they would be courageous and represent their constituents. Give them wisdom on how to best represent everyone. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your grace and your mercy, but most of all, we thank you for your presence. It is in that we have provision, protection, and peace. Thank you for your bountiful blessings. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. All right.
Good luck to each one of you girls.
Yes. All right, next item we have on the agenda is updates from the mayor, council members and updates from city staff members. City staff members have anything they want to update us on? What have you been up to? Traveling around? We just got back from South Padre. Texas. Mikey, anything you want to update us on?
I'll just make you aware if you haven't, I think I did send some information out to each of you, but today we got Chief Folger all signed up and ready to go. So he's been instated full time and he'll be working to fill some vacancies and look at some virtual opportunities with his staff in the coming weeks or months. And I think we're going to talk about TxDOT later. And
Any council members have anything?
Have a couple of city events coming up. The Christmas on Main event is December 7th. And then we have the trout fishing event that's the date set for January 11th.
it's my birthday.
Oh, great cake.
Lead 34. Again.
Plus or minus.
Yeah. Okay, anybody have anything else? All right. Okay, we'll move into our work session. Item number one, review and discuss questions related to the budget report and financial statement for October 2024. Mr. Peacock.
Well, we are one whole month and a few days into this year's budget, and I'm happy to say nobody's blown it up. It's, nothing substantial, that you would see. Happy to take any questions, but nothing else to report.
Questions? Moving on to item number two, review and discuss questions related to fiscal year 2024 financial report. Marcy. Do right here. Get that on. That's the amount we're making up in this year's budget. Okay. Any other questions? Very much. Okay. Item number three, review and discuss current commercial fire flow requirements. Mr. Peacock.
Mayor, currently the fire flow requirements for the city are 1,000 gallons per minute for residential and 1,500 gallons per minute for commercial. Given the age of some of the water infrastructure and of course the cost of doing things and the way things have been developing, the 1,500 gallon minute is just not attainable. It's just, the system it's just not there. To get there, I can't tell you how many millions of dollars it would take to get there, but it's significant. So the problem we're running into is that in some of the commercial development that we're seeing, specifically in some of the restaurant chains that typically come with fire suppression systems in the kitchens and areas to reduce that threat, people are getting kind of sticker shock when they see the cost to update the system to get that 1,500 gallons a minute. And so then we go back through a process to issue variances, and it causes a delay in getting things done. It's really a needless step that we're trying to streamline the permitting process. If we could reduce that 1,500 gallon per minute fire flow down to 1,000, so it's 1,000 straight across the board, it would make permitting a lot simpler. We still would have the ability for large projects to increase that amount should there be some really large development coming. It's not going to limit that. But it takes a big step out. It relieves a lot of confusion with the water district when they're going through figuring flows and what size meters and all the things that they need and where fire. It would solve way more problems than what we're going through now. I visited with the chief. We've been doing these variances for several years, and I think that once we get to a place where we can start working on this and put together a long-term plan with capital funding along and working out with Jason so that we can at some point maybe put that back up. But it's part of the reason we bought the tanker that we bought, the big 2,500 gallon tanker. With fire flow problems, this has existed for years. We have the ability to reach out to them in cases of large fires. They can increase pressures for us, but to boost them up too much because some of the infrastructure is so old, it'll pop lines all over everywhere, and that's something we'd like not to do. We have requested a few times on a couple of large residential fires where exposures were a problem, where we needed increased flows a little bit. They've increased those pressures, and when we were finished, they shut them right back down without issue. It can be done electronically. Nobody has to physically get up and go do anything. It's a pretty easy process. And I know that we're working on some things for future with water, and as the city grows and develops, at some point, maybe we'll see that come back. But what we'd like to do is present an amended ordinance next month that would reduce that fire flow back down to 1,000 gallons per minute for residential and commercial establishments. And I wanted to put it on the work session. We've talked about it with Jason, and again, it's been something we've been going back and forth with them for years. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to require something that's not attainable. And it would simplify the process, and it kind of gives us something to work towards as we improve the system. Maybe some places, we can get there. So I would ask for that to be considered, and if you're so inclined, then the chief and I will work on that ordinance, get the wording squared away, and present that to you guys next month. And I asked him to come tonight instead of the ESD meeting. So if y'all had questions, he could give y'all some answers. Y'all could hear from him directly if you have questions.
Any questions?
I've done some of my own research on this, and I've had some conversations with Jason about it technically, but do you have any concerns with making this change?
So I do, but we prepared for it. We've got the tanker, we've got a good relationship with Jason now, where we go out close to the hydrant. And we know that there are some outdated parts of this system that we can't really rely on, so we're pretty hard for that. Necessary. Now, one of the things that I would be cautious about is I don't think it will affect insurance rates, but it could for some businesses. And if there's a fire flow requirement for a building, a large building that has to be sprinkled, we may run into some issues there, but we can adjust the necessary building.
Do we know what other surrounding cities have for their commercial parking rate? Do we know what other surrounding cities have for their commercial fire flow rate?
It's 1,500.
Are you sure about that?
Some are 15, some are 2,000.
There are some that are higher. We did check on that. I guess the difference is they can hit it. We cannot.
So if the requirement for a business would be higher, JSUD can meet that. As long as they pay to have the increase.
Yeah, there would be a cost
Yeah, there would be a
to the
cost.
developer for that.
So, but it is attainable if the developer pays the cost to attain it. So it's really a mute subject with us, as long as we meet any state requirements that we have to have a certain level. For
Well, I think the challenge is that for an individual business, let's just say it was Panda Express.
Yeah.
Let's just say one individual business, it's the infrastructure leading up to it. It's not just they need to pay for a specific meter. It's the entire infrastructure that is extremely expensive to make that work. And my understanding is that it was more common to see that 1,000 was not an uncommon fire flow rate for commercial business.
I think you're all.
I'll go back and look. I just want to make sure, we're being mindful on both sides. As it's extremely expensive to be able to get there. And if we're offering variances, which I'm not a big fan of offering variances, but if we're commonly offering variances, then clearly we've thought it was acceptable for whatever reason. So I do agree in making the permitting process, easier on the staff. But if we're expecting something to be at a higher rate, then I would expect that Jason is gonna expect us to help pony up some of the money to make it happen.
Gotta get a plan to get us there, I'm not saying we're going to get us there.
Right.
For now, so.
One developer that we've been talking about, that he had actually put in some additional fire breaks and stuff too. Is that an option?
It isn't some of them, that was a small business, it was 6,000 square feet. And he's gonna have a firewall that's pointed in for his apartment right next to it. And the occupancy group that he's got in there is a low fire hazard in there, so it doesn't make sense to have it. And I've got the authority to waive that.
We have some tools in the toolbox that we can, some of the businesses, we ask them to put in more, no, extinguishers. We ask them to maybe increase extinguishers. Some of them have automatic alarms or, that can be, that we can work with things depending on locations of fire hydrants and length of ways. There's lots of things that we can still work through, but the initial sticker shock of to get to the fire flow this, you gotta do this, here's $1 million, and then they leave and we never hear from them again. That's what we're trying to stop. We at least want to get, where we can have those conversations and not.
1,000 is attainable, and we have the measures in place with the tanker and everything else, then, definitely partnering with Jason on what the long-term goal is and how.
And that's the goal, to work out it. We'll start including some of that stuff in our CIP in the future as we redo roads. Maybe that's the time to update fire lines on that street while everything's tore out. And so those are things that we visited with Josh about. We visited with him over the weekend or a couple of days ago about another project we're fixing to do with him. So, the door's open to get things better from both sides. We just got to get a plan to get there. This is kind of the first step thus, so to keep us moving, keep us growing. And I don't believe there's any danger because we can increase the pressure.
I do. We're not jeopardizing a lot of safety by this. I would not do that. We're just prepared to plan for it to happen. But again, I think it's going to keep getting to that point. We're giving a little bit, but we more to go for Jason.
Any other questions?
So I guess we want the staff to go ahead and work on the amended code for us to do that.
Great. We'll do it in December.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 4, update on the November 14th, 2024 Texas .917 underpass stakeholder meeting. Dog and pony show.
Good. Ought to get that out. So some of you guys were there. Feel free to comment where you choose. We at TxDOT's request, we hosted a stakeholder meeting with the school, fire, police, appropriate people were there in the room. They have the route picked. The route has moved to the north side of 14th versus the south it was before. They moved it because of the house with the 2 front doors. So they moved it to the north side of the street where they're still going to take out a house with 2 front doors. And our animal shelter, the shelter will go. The route looks nice. They've gotten a little farther along. I think there are 13 displacements or 13 pieces of property to acquire. They're going to take some time. And the way they were talking, that I believe they were talking about maybe beginning to acquire property in 2025, which I'm a little skeptical, I have to tell you. I didn't get anything from them that made me feel like that there was any change coming soon. The initial funding that was in place for the project had been pulled for other projects, so it is not currently funded completely at this point. I don't know how much farther they're gonna go. But I guess right now, what they're talking about construction in 2028.
No, that's when they're gonna let the bid. This
Or unless they're gonna
2020.
let it, they have it ready to let.
If they're funded.
For bid, if it's funded. We also asked, the mayor asked, Victoria Johnson, who is a council member of Burleson, but also is, on the board at the COG. She was there, and if I'm not mistaken, next year she'll be president of that board.
I think so, yes.
And with that comes some scope. And so it was good to have her there so that she could get her eyes on it and ask some questions. And they have the environmental group in place now. That's what caused the last 2-year delay waiting on where this environmental people are. They have them now. They've got a PR firm hired now to start marketing, working things. And I don't know how fast we'll see stuff. Like it'll be at the pace we've seen it before. But they did hold a meeting. They're talking about having another one
Quick meeting in January.
in January. And so we'll see how that, and that'll be one for the public. I expect we'll reach out, we'll do it at the school or something. We'll need a bigger place to do that one, but I didn't leave with the feeling that much was accomplished, but, and I don't know if you guys feel any differently. I don't think Johnny does. I think
I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah. But at least somebody's talking about it besides us.
Well, one of the things that has changed, and hopefully we can, work with the county on this, that bond that the county passed. That money is supposed to be kind of like seed money to help get projects moving a little bit quicker. We may be able to see if we can get the county to throw in a little bit, maybe help with, property acquisition. They've already got all the engineering, so we can't help too much there. Utility relocations, things like that. That's what that bond money was specifically set up for. There's other projects within the county. So hopefully we can get ours in and get it going at the head of the group as opposed to coming up with the leftovers. The COG is very, very much involved. They saw what was going on, and Ms. Johnson really could not believe that it's drugged on for 20 some years now. Which apparently she's not been in government very long. Everything takes 20 years in TxDOT. So we're hoping that we'll get a little bit of a push with her being our neighbor and helping try to get that done. There's a lot of changes on 917 TxDOT's considering, and a lot of those changes are going to probably take place before they get to this underpass. And I don't know that anybody's even spoke to Burlington Northern yet. So that's going to be the next major sticking point. So it's going to get interesting, but the drawings and everything look great. I kind of think Kristen was asking questions about the drainage. I'm kind of like him. Some of the rains we've had the last few years, I don't think what they're doing is going to keep that from flooding out. Not the way they were talking. They're planning on a 50-year flood, and I would say that's not going to be near enough drainage with that much concrete pouring into that one dip in the road.
Yeah, I think, Kristen, what'd they say? 40 feet or something from some
46
crazy high number.
46
road
foot
to the
from the
track to the
back to
bottom of the road.
bottom of the road. So
Bridge.
it's going to be a big hole in the ground. So it was interesting. So
At one time, they were gonna tear down that little house, 2 doors.
Well, they were gonna go right through it, but then the owner offered to donate it to the Historical Society to get them moving again. And they went back and forth over that, who neither one wanted to pay to move it, so I reached out to them and told them we would pay to move it if it would get them moving. But then they decided, no, they couldn't do that because it was identified and they couldn't change it. So the property owner was willing. He offered it up.
If you don't wanna do that, you can pay and move it out there at my house. I use it for a while.
property owner offered to burn it to the ground.
Kindling.
That's what it took.
Kindling would be more of its use, I think.
It's dilapidated.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it'll ever be put in much repair, but, he had even arranged for a new location for the renters that are in it. He was ready to go. They just kind of stuck.
Another house that they're gonna tear down has exactly the same setup. It's pretty bad. Any other questions? Okay, we'll now move on to our public forum. City council invites citizens to speak on any topic. However, unless the item is specifically noted on this agenda, city council is required under the Texas Open Meetings Act to limit its response to responding with a statement of specific factual information, reciting the city's existing policy, or directing the person making the inquiry to visit with city staff about the issue. Therefore, no council deliberation is permitted. Each person speaking will have 3 minutes to speak. We have 2 people signed up for this evening. Mr. Cockrell, if you'd like to step up, state your name, address. We'd real like for you to go ahead and do it now if you don't mind, please.
My name is Bill Cockrell. I live at 2033 Evans, 35. And I am haven't looked in the last year or two. I've seen the citizens really feeling kind of amused by the wild fluctuations in the real estate market and prices that turn out to make you wonder where those things came from. And in the past year, I've been very interested in watching sort of how the Central Financial District Board of Directors and bring some stability to the appraisal process, the way it stopped with wild fluctuations. Find parents effort in important I've watched as the board number of policies they very conservative folks. They've said those just tell me I grew their budget by nearly $500 million. They're very transparent in terms of the website. Really approach public goods in it. Say that 68. They're just atmosphere of office. I was invited to allow my advice on ballot to fill one of the openings for 5 openings. I have a background that I thought perhaps could help. I'm an ex-school teacher, coach, administrator. I've been for 30 years. So I'm on the city council staff. That's fine. Thank you. It feels nice. It's also good. It is make you feel good. This evening, I really just came to introduce myself to you. Let's put a name or a face with that. There are 5 openings. 2 people are including votes from the taxing entities. The one is going over the chair. Amy Lindo has already been there. I am just receiving. See, there are 2.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Greg Cooper. Sure.
Here, that I want to comment about some of the other accomplishments that Central Critical Board of Directors have made. There's no question that the property tax process, it's very confusing, and there's a lot of fear and anxiety within across the state of Texas with this. As you guys know, sitting in the seats that you guys sit in, municipal government moves along very, very slowly. The current Central Appraisal District Board of Directors have been seated for about a year. You guys were instrumental in getting the current board on there. The two remaining candidates from the older board chose to leave their seats, Vance Castle, so before, which is why there's so many candidates this time up for election. But one of the other things that they are now looking into, and last meeting that they approved, was an independent audit. They're currently in the process of writing an RFP to go out for an independent audit for the specific purpose of making sure all citizens of Johnson County, all Joshua citizens, every single citizen's properties are appraised fairly, equitably, equally across the board. And the reason for that is because there's been a substantial amount of ones that have been found that are not being done that way. And that's what we have here. So this is part of a presentation that was done at Keene to try to help the current CAD board get reelected, and the individuals that have stated very clearly that they're going to continue to move forward with the substantial amount of positive progress the current Central Appraisal District Board of Directors have made. And what this is, if you turn the page, and I apologize for my printer not working well, but these first four properties here show in the columns of land market, appraised, and assessed value. You will see since 2014, these properties have not changed $1 since 2014. So if it's by law, they have to appraise properties annually. How is that even possible? So then we went farther than these four properties, and I have a list here of 50 properties that have been frozen since 2014. Then the next list is ones that have an disproportionate increase of doubling in over a year. So why is this important? Well, the old Central Appraisal District leadership was very adamant that they had passed all the property value studies, all of the safety mechanisms in place to keep this fair and equitable. But what they don't tell you is these are small statistical sampling. For example, if you're looking at 100 properties that are all valued at $1 million, and you appraise some at 500,000, and the rest at 1.5 million, they are equally $1 million. Does that make sense? So they're currently working on this. They're currently solving this problem. Please give all of your votes to John Woods. He's effectively the mayor pro tem of the Central Appraisal District, so they can continue their great work and good transparency on problems like this for your citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That takes care of our public forum. Thank both of you gentlemen for coming and speaking tonight. This handouts you gave us takes you to the specific properties with those.
I can send it on digits if you like, Mayor. So you can click right on it. These are all from the Johnson County Central Appraisal District website, the new one that they helped develop, that we can all research this stuff very easily.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move into our consent agenda. Item number 1, discuss, consider, and possible action on the October 17th, 2024 meeting minutes. And item number 2 is discuss, consider, and possible action on a resolution adopting the investment policy. Marcy, did you have anything on the investment policy you need to do? Okay. So, do we want to discuss these items separately or as one? Vote on them?
I should say we let it go.
All right.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
They have a motion by Mike, seconded by Johnny to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, we'll now move into our regular agenda. Item number 1, discuss, consider, and possible action on the resolution casting votes in the 2025-2026 election of the Board of Directors for the Johnson County Central Appraisal District. Ms. Holloway?
City Council, in your packet is a resolution. There's 5 names listed in your staff report. The city of Joshua has a total of 56 votes. You can put all the votes towards one candidate or you may split them up.
We heard from our speaker that Mr. Goulding, Ms. Lingo, and Mr. Cockrell are already, guaranteed spots on the board. Mr. Wood, that they both recommend. Mr. Wood is a very good CAD member. He put together or was instrumental in putting together a presentation that they go around and show to different groups, explaining exactly how the CAD works. You'd be surprised at the number of people that don't understand exactly how the CAD system is set up to work. By its very design, it is open for all kinds of misguided attempts to utilize it. And our CAD board is being very good about keeping it pretty much wide open. They meet on the same nights that we meet. I would love to attend their meetings. I hear some of them get to be pretty interesting. But I would love to have the opportunity to attend one. Brandon Potts on there is on the list as well. He's another person that the group is working to get on there. However, they wanted to try to work to get the people assured, especially the ones that are currently on there, back on the board. So we have 56 votes. We can split them. We can cast them all to one. It's up to us. So any discussion, questions? No? I'll accept the motion. Well, I'll move that we give all 56 votes to Mr. John Wood.
I'll second.
Couldn't either.
Okay, I have a motion made by myself, seconded by Mike Kidd, to give all 56 of our votes for a CAD board of directors to Mr. John Woods. Is there any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen, for
Next time, bring hope.
doing what you do.
I know, man. I'll send you those on digits, and I'll see you there.
Okay, thank you. All right. We'll move on now to item number 2, discuss, consider a possible action approving a site plan regarding 1.15560 acres of land, lot 7A, block 1 in the George Caseland Survey, abstract number 173, County of Johnson, Texas, located at 1044 South Broadway to allow for a restaurant. Mr. Maldonado.
We're very glad of Joshua Station was approved in 2008. Since the property was purchased on 7A, we were planning to put like a planters up for the center. Property is on the TV. Keep it on different. We were still on July. That's it. Most development of property allows for restaurant on 7A. Water and sewer are provided.
Anybody have any questions?
What is the restaurant? Whataburger?
Any other questions?
Long time coming.
I'm good. Too bad $1 Million Molly's not here to see this.
We'll invite her to the grand opening.
There you go.
Amen.
Let her throw out the first burger. Okay.
We're approving the site.
Site plan. All right, I'll
Make a motion, we approve the site plan for this
I'll
land
second.
development.
They got a motion by Mike, seconded by Angela to approve the site plan as presented for Whataburger.
The burger.
Whataburger. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Item number 3, discuss, consider possible action on amending policy 5.2 vacation leave. Ms. Browns.
So, here, it's a motion to, for me, that's the
Any questions?
We had any concern from the staff on losing that? Is it still eligible for them for this current year?
There's no
When-
budget funds. for it.
When do they sell back? Is it in December? Is that when? Oh, at any time. Okay. But has there been any concern or anything expressed by staff about that?
That there will be, I mean, nobody, there's only one person put in for it as of yet, as far as I know. But we loosened it, a year ago and made it a little less restrictive, and it became very expensive. And this year, we just simply couldn't fund it. And it also had a little bit of an opposite effect. I mean, you know, say, it's good for people to get away from here for a little while. But a lot of times people find themselves in some sort of emergency, or there's a problem where that was a benefit to have. And so I'm going along kicking and screaming with this, but the bottom line was we could not fund it this year. And so I think that we need to clean the policy up and eliminate it, and we'll take a look at it again next week. It's something I would like to see back, because I think it's worthwhile, but I think you'll see it again back in its original state, where it's capped at 40 hours annually, and they have to have a minimum amount still available to take off. We let them go to 80 this last time, and it got very expensive. And so that's why I don't like the fact that we're doing it, but you know, we're trying to, there's some other things that were just more important to do.
Any other questions? You made the comment, it's on your list of items that will be discussed each budget year. Okay. Motion,
I move on amending policy 5.2 vacation leave.
you got a motion by Johnny, seconded by Shelley to amend the vacation leave policy. Any discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. All right. Item number 4, discuss, consider, and possible action on the First Amendment to cost participation agreement between Johnson County Special Utility District and the City of Joshua. Mr. Peacock.
This was the result of some meetings, conversations with Josh, the general manager at JSED, over the remaining balance of the 16-inch water line project down Main Street. The original contract had a requirement in it that we work out a incentive agreement that would repay the type A board in the city over time, where we could incentivize new business, new projects tying onto that line. Rather than, after talking with Josh and sitting down with him, rather than creating a cumbersome what if, he thought the idea would be better if we just did away with the remaining balance altogether, and that we could incentivize whoever we wanted, whenever we wanted. And it took them out of the equation, which I thought was fine. It's a generous gesture, I think, on their part. But he believed that they could move forward just fine without it. I believe their board has tentatively have approved this. The only thing is, I did get a change late today. It's really not that big deal. It's something that we're working with them on now, to stabilize a, manhole that's in the creek line. Well, it is now, the erosion, the side bank is eroded enough that it's fixing to create some problems with a manhole. And we're working with them now to shore that up. We have some bond funds remaining for Village Creek drainage projects. This is something that will be appropriate for that, and it will prevent, the plan is to prevent that from washing out until a permanent relocation can be put together. It's gonna take some time in engineering, but the last thing we need is for that to open up and have a sewer spill in that creek. And so we're working together, and what they sent me over today, rather than do a whole new agreement for that, Scott came, they just put some language in there that addresses our cooperation with that. They're gonna kind of carry this because I don't want to message them that we're working in a creek. Even though this clearly would serve a public good, I think we can meet the definition. And Terry looked at what they wrote in today, and he was okay with it, but well, I'll have that clean copy from you tomorrow, but it just talks about this project that we're doing, so it's and it basically it saves the city $872,314.
And that money goes back to type A to use for certification.
350,000 of it was what was targeted for type A, which has not been spent, so that money will stay. And the remaining was coming out of some different proceeds from here, so it'll just stay.
Any questions? Accept the motion?
I'll second.
We got a motion by Angela, seconded by Mike to approve the First Amendment of the cost participation agreement.
Is that motion with including the change?
Yes.
I still second.
Including the change that was discussed. Any questions? Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, staff reports. Anybody have any questions on any of the staff reports? Animal services. You need one? No, I don't need an animal. No, there's been a lot, seems like a lot of moving around going on down there. How's things going in animal services?
Here, by Heather did after baby, so we have one animal control officer and a part-time kennel tech currently down in. We did make a conditional offer and it was accepted to an animal services manager. His name's Tommy. He's got 30+ years of experience and his start date scheduled for December 16th. So he has made multiple visits to the shelter, met with the girls. He's already taken time to look at our standard operating procedures or ordinances. I think he's gonna be great at the addition. We do have a new code enforcement officer as well.
That was my next question.
Sorry,
No, you're fine. Good.
we're excited about him too. He comes to us with 14 years of experience from city of Fort Worth. Mostly in development services, but it's so intertwined. He's helped with code enforcement. One of those for 2 weeks now, and he is hit the ground running, so it's gonna be a great addition.
Chief Holder, you down a couple officers still?
Yes, sir. We are receiving applications.
Chief White, how's things going with the fire department?
It's going good. Nick Bastion got a charter operator. I was able to, it's a start. October, participated in over 9 posters. This is not work.
Kristen, how's public works going? saw you driving the dump truck the other day. So I couldn't tell if you were relaxed or if you were gritting your teeth too hard. So,
Probably grabbed it once.
We're driving on the wrong streets for you.
no, he's driving on 174. So,
Yeah, well, leave it on there.
how we doing on the playground?
It's all, the equipment's already ordered. Steven's actually at one of their discussion forums. They invited him to come and talk about the playground that we're putting in and some of the challenges that we're facing. So he's very excited about being asked to come to that board. They pay for 100% of the travel, so everything's ordered.
Making any progress to reallocate some of the old equipment to other parks and make other parks.
There's some concerns about would it being pulled out? There was some damage to it. He is looking at maybe adding some additional swings. It just depends on how much funds are remaining. Yep, everything. So. There are a few invites up there, one piece.
Parks to
Yeah, there's, if we could.
There's a couple of pieces that we think might be able to be used, but what we were hoping was some of the swings just replacing the moving parts on them. Some of those poles were damaged coming out. I'm not sure how repairable, if any, that they are, but there's, some of the picnic benches and tables and stuff might be an option for some of them too. We're still just kind of going through it. He's switched gears last, I guess, week or so because all the decorations getting that lift is kind of expensive, and so we've shifted to that. But it's on his radar. They're looking at it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much of it's going to be reusable.
When's the anticipated date for some of the equipment to come in for the big park?
I will have to check with them because I knew it had been ordered. And then when they did the presentation at the B board, they had spoken about giving us notifications on the way since it's, hit the ground. So.
His report says second week of January.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the end of December and 1st of January.
It's in production.
Mayor, if you don't mind, while we're talking about the park, just an update, the sound stage is ready with the exception of one part that I don't know why it's a challenge to get, but it's the controller for the light system. It's kind of an important part. And I've told them just to hang, they expect it any day. And it won't take but just a little bit of time for the electrician to hook it up, plug it in, and test it. But I don't want to deal with trying to find somebody to do it here. So I've told them that until it's 100%, I don't want it down here. And as soon as I think we've got the invoice and stuff, we're ready to go. And they believe that since it's good, they can show up within just a day or two. We're hoping that we have it for Christmas, but we'll see for the Christmas on May, we'll see.
The Christmas on Main, the parade part of it get moved to nighttime.
The park staff's been working on some signage out there, so it's slowly going up to take a look. So getting the frames built, getting the signs up.
The parade to night instead of the thing, so that you can actually
Oh,
see the
okay,
light on
okay.
the floats.
I'm gonna need changes.
Oh, man. One more thing to mention, some of y'all have called about, some work being done in yards. They've dug up some yards, putting in some utilities. That is Spectrum. I finally got a hold of somebody there who was giving me contact information for their installer group that's doing that. Put a call into them today. They're gonna have their for this project, call up there, conveyed that some yards have been left unclean with dirt, not finished back, and we kind of went through well, it's not our responsibility, but I believe it is. I mean, they have a right to be there, but they don't have a right to tear up somebody's yard. So he's assured me that those things will be fixed, and we're going to be driving around trying to gather up some addresses to give them a list of people that the Spectrum they are putting, and their plan is to run it through the entire city.
It's in my neighborhood. And they have made a mess. They didn't tell anybody they were coming. And everybody out there is mad. We had one lady that threatened them. And one of our fine officers went out and straightened it up, and took care of it, and they did a great job. But I think if my understanding is watching them, they're gonna stay away from that woman. They're gonna turn, and she's mean, yes. But I met with cause everybody out there hollered at me. And so I met with all the foremans and got their names and phone numbers, and we have a little internet thing out there for the neighborhood. And so I listed all the people and their phone numbers, and it said, if you have a right, call these people. And I told them that's what I was gonna do. So I think things are calming down, and they assured me that next week they'll be out there fixing those yards.
He told me that they were fixing it. When he asked who he needed to talk to about going underneath the city streets, it's not gonna be me, it'll be Aaron or Kristen, but I told him it was gonna be me. So these yards were fixed, that we weren't gonna have that conversation.
So they went under the street today.
He told me they've already been under a few that they haven't been able to stop, but he assured me that they will fix them, and so we'll work with them and try to help facilitate that.
Well, I had a question that I was gonna ask, but I'm glad Terry's here because maybe he can answer it, but if I need to replace the water heater in my house, I've got to get a permit. Spectrum can come in here and start digging up in my yard, and they don't even have to let the city know they're coming. Is that a failure of our code, or is it just something that these public utilities can do?
It's a state law, and telecommunications carriers are exempted from a lot of things, that's including one of the permitting issues. So they can pretty much be in the right of way. They go on to private property, that's a different matter, but in the right of way, they have the ability to do that, and they adopted that probably 8-10 years ago, the legislature did.
Somebody had told me that I guess they did a survey, and if they haven't enough of a response from the survey, that's how they determined that they go to the periods, but it's a small number.
I never got a survey.
No, I didn't either.
He told me they were doing the whole city. Even areas where somebody else was.
I know they were getting into Mountain Valley Lakes.
Over in front of the park now,
Yeah.
on those streets.
Yeah, they're in the old part of Mountain Valley. They're in my neighborhood now.
They're getting down my street. Matter of fact, I saw one of those big spools of pipe out there today, so they're coming down.
Well, they're going underneath city streets.
Yeah, I knew they were, and we can't stop them, but normally they let us know. But they bore under them, so they don't do any damage to them, so there's really nothing for us to do, but like I said, he said that they would try and give us a schedule and know where they would be and when, but.
It seemed like it'd at least be a courtesy to contact the city so that we would know when people start calling because their yards are getting tore up, what's going on.
Yeah, some notice would have been nice, or we could have put some warnings out, but.
So they're going 10 feet into the yard.
Yeah.
How big?
10 feet.
From the road.
Oh, that curb, yeah, it's the easement.
Alice, on your weekly newsletter, could we put some information in there for?
Absolutely, I can add it for tomorrow.
I think that we need to at least notify the ones that haven't gotten the holes in their yards yet. So.
I might be lucky because the lady lives next door to me.
I'm over there, he's up there.
All right. Any other questions about the staff reports? Okay, at 7:29, we are going to recess into executive session. The City Council, City of Joshua will recess into executive session pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551, Subchapter D, Texas Government. Discuss the following pursuant to 551.071 to consult the city attorney regarding legal issues associated with criminal and code enforcement matters, including possible code amendments and all matters intended and related thereto.
Joshua Howell.
The
old one.
Okay, it's 8:13. I'm calling this meeting back to order. No action needs to be taken on the executive session. Anybody have any requests for future agenda items? Okay, we are going to schedule a special session, a special council meeting on December 9th, 6:30 here.
I have a question. This new the guidelines of emergency.
Okay.
At six
All right.
thirty. Special meeting, 6:30.
Yes, at 6:30. Okay, at 8:14, this meeting is adjourned.